It was a quiet morning by the lake. The water was still. My fishing rod was ready. This lake had fed my family for years. Then the fish started floating, belly up, one by one. The water turned cloudy and smelled wrong. That's when I saw the signs. No fishing. HOA enforced. Karen stood on the dock, arms crossed, smiling. She said they poisoned the lake on purpose, said it would teach me a lesson, said the HOA was tired of me using their water. What she didn't know, this lake isn't just for fishing. It's the only water source for the entire neighborhood, the pumps, the sprinklers, the drinking water, and the man she just messed with. I'm the one who controls the water rights. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're watching from. And hit subscribe for more stories where the bad guys always regret their choices. The air was cool. The sky was pale orange. Mist floated just above the water like a thin blanket. This was my routine every morning, same dock, same rod, same calm. Fishing wasn't a hobby for me. It was how I fed my family, how I cleared my head, how I remembered who I was before stress, bills, and people who loved power more than peace. The lake had always been alive. You could hear it. Birds calling, fish breaking the surface, water moving gently against the wood. But that morning, it was silent, too silent. I stepped closer to the edge of the dock, and that's when I saw them, fish, floating. One at first, then another, then dozens more, big ones, small ones, all belly up, all motionless. My stomach tightened. The water looked wrong, not clear like always. It was cloudy, thick, almost greasy. When the breeze shifted, a sharp chemical smell hit my nose and made my eyes burn. I knelt down and touched the water with my fingers. It felt slick, unnatural. That's when I noticed the sign, new wood. Fresh nails, angrily hammered into the dock like a warning. No fishing. HOA enforced. I stood up slowly, and that's when I saw her, Karen, standing at the end of the dock in a bright red outfit, arms crossed tight against her chest. Her lips were curled into a smile that didn't belong on a human face. It was the kind of smile people wear when they think they finally hurt you. "You like it?" she asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. She stepped closer, heels clicking against the wood. "We took care of your little fishing problem," she said. "Dumped something in overnight." I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to say it was a joke. She laughed instead. "Fishing is against HOA rules," she continued. "You didn't listen, so we enforced it." "You poisoned the lake?" I asked. She shrugged. "Fish poison, deterrent, same thing." Behind her, more fish drifted toward the shore, dead, rotating slowly in the water like evidence. "You can't do that," I said quietly. "Oh, we can," she snapped. "This is community property, and the HOA decides how it's used." She leaned closer, lowered her voice. "This will stop you for good." I looked past her, at the water, at the shoreline, at the intake pipe barely visible beneath the surface. She didn't notice where my eyes went. She didn't know the history of this place, didn't know the contracts, didn't know the paperwork filed years before the HOA even existed. This lake wasn't just a fishing spot. It was the main water source. Every house in this neighborhood pulled from it. Every shower in the morning, every glass poured at dinner, every child brushing their teeth, all of it came from this water. And standing in front of me was a woman proudly admitting she had poisoned it. "What's wrong?" she asked, noticing my silence. "Nothing to say now?" I finally looked at her. "No," I said calmly. "Just thinking." She smiled wider, thinking she'd won. She had no idea that the lake she poisoned didn't belong to the HOA, that the water rights were in my name, that the man she was mocking was about to shut off the entire neighborhood. I didn't move here to fight anyone. I didn't move here to argue about rules, fines, or paperwork. I moved here for peace. After years of noise, deadlines, and crowded places, this land felt like a blessing. Trees instead of traffic, water instead of concrete, silence instead of shouting. The lake was the reason I bought the property, not just because it was beautiful, but because it was mine, legally, clearly, without debate. The deed showed it, the survey showed it, the water rights were registered years before the HOA even existed. I checked everything twice before signing: lawyers, county offices, state records. No shared ownership, no easements, no HOA control. The lake was part of my land. At first, everything was fine. Neighbors waved, kids played, people smiled when they walked by and saw me fishing in the morning. Some even stopped to talk. "How's the bite today? Catch anything good?" It felt normal, human. Then the HOA noticed. It started small. A letter in my mailbox, unapproved recreational activity observed near community water feature. I laughed when I read it. Thought it was a mistake. I ignored it. A week later, another letter, this time a fine $50, reason unauthorized use of community property. That's when I went to the HOA office. I brought copies, deeds, maps, official stamps. I explained calmly, "This lake is on my land. It's not community property." The woman behind the desk barely looked at the papers. She just sighed and said, "I'll pass this along." That's when Karen showed up. She knocked on my door like she was late for a fight, sharp, loud, aggressive. She stood there wearing a bright outfit, clipboard in hand, eyes already angry. "You can't fish there," she said without greeting me. "Yes, I can," I replied. "It's my lake," she scoffed. "Nothing here belongs to just one person." I handed her the documents. She didn't read them. Instead, she pointed past me toward the water. "That lake is for everyone," she snapped. "You don't get special treatment." I told her the truth. It doesn't belong to the HOA, never has. Her face turned red. From that day on, she made it personal. Every week there was something new. My fishing pole was unsightly. My folding chair was unauthorized furniture. My cooler was commercial equipment. Once, she fined me for sitting too close to the water. Another time, she claimed I was intimidating neighbors by existing near the dock. I appealed every fine, won every time. That made her furious. She started showing up unannounced, standing at the edge of my property, taking photos, making calls. "This will stop," she'd say. One way or another, neighbors started avoiding eye contact, not because of me, but because of her. Everyone knew how she was, but no one wanted to challenge her. The HOA backed her, not because she was right, but because she was loud. They couldn't control the lake on paper, so they tried to control me. Warnings became threats. Threats became harassment. They didn't warn me. They didn't post notices. They didn't call the county, the state, or anyone who actually mattered. They waited until night, the kind of night where the lake looks black and still, where sound carries farther than you expect, where you can do terrible things and believe no one will notice. I wasn't there when it happened. That part still bothers me. While I slept, while my house was dark and quiet, they came down to the water with buckets and containers. They had no bus. Enes touching. They moved fast, careful not to turn on lights, careful not to draw attention. Later they would call it a fish deterrent. Like that made it harmless. Like changing the name could change the damage. By sunrise, the lake was already dying. It didn't happen all at once. That's the part people don't understand. First, the surface went still, too still. No ripples, no splashes. Then the birds stopped landing. I noticed that before the fish, no ducks, no herons, nothing skimming the water for breakfast. When I walked the shoreline, I found the frogs next, curled up, motionless. Some half in the water, some dragged themselves onto the rocks, like they were trying to escape. Then the fish began to surface, small ones at first, then the larger ones, the ones that had lived here for years. The lake didn't just look sick, it felt sick. The smell got stronger as the sun rose, sharp, chemical, burned the back of your throat. By mid-morning, neighbors started coming outside. People pointed, whispered, covered their mouths. A mother pulled her kids back from the shoreline like it was on fire. "What happened?" Someone asked. Karen had the answer ready. She showed up like she'd been waiting for an audience. "It's HOA enforcement," she announced. "Fishing violations required action." Someone asked if it was safe. She waved her hand dismissively. "It's fine, just for the fish." That's when I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because this wasn't just a lake. This water didn't stay here. Pipes ran from it, underground, quiet, invisible, straight into the neighborhood, to kitchen sinks, bathroom taps, garden hoses, sprinklers soaking lawns where kids played barefoot. People were drinking this water, brushing their teeth with it, cooking with it. And she was standing there smiling like she'd solved a parking problem. I walked closer. "You put chemicals in the water," I said. She crossed her arms again. "Don't be dramatic." "What chemicals?" I asked. She hesitated, just for a second. "Approved ones," she said quickly. "The HOA handled it." That was when I knew. No paperwork, no permits, no testing, just anger and power and stupidity. By afternoon, the birds were gone completely. Not flying, not calling. The lake sounded dead. I called the HOA office. No answer. I called Karen, straight to voicemail. That's when I stopped trying to reason with them. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This wasn't overreach or harassment. This was a crime, environmental damage, public health risk, intentional contamination. All because they wanted me to stop fishing. I took photos, videos, samples, every dead fish, every warning sign, every word Karen said on camera. By evening, people were scared. Faucets were running brown. Water smelled wrong inside houses now. Someone's dog got sick. A kid threw up after drinking from the tap. Still, the HOA said nothing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't threaten anyone. I walked back into my house, closed the door, and sat at the kitchen table. My hands were steady. My decision was already made. I made 3 calls. The first was to environmental protection. I told them exactly what happened. No emotion, just facts. Private lake, unauthorized chemical dumping, dead wildlife, strong chemical odor, possible connection to residential water supply. The woman on the line stopped typing halfway through my sentence. "Sir," she said slowly, "do not touch the water again. Keep everyone away." The second call was to the county water authority. That one got quiet fast when I mentioned unapproved chemical contamination and shared residential intake lines. The tone changed completely. They asked for coordinates, parcel numbers, access POI. NTs. I gave them everything. The third call was to my lawyer. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said only one thing. "Do not warn the HOA." I looked out the window at the lake. I wasn't planning to. By late morning, the first truck arrived. White, unmarked, official, then another, then another. Men and women stepped out wearing gloves, boots, and serious expressions. No one smiled, no one chatted. They walked straight to the water like they already knew it was bad. Testing kits came out, vials, meters, clipboards. Karen showed up halfway through. She looked confident at first, almost smug. "What's all this?" she demanded. No one answered her. She laughed, a sharp, fake sound. "I already told him," she said, loudly pointing at me. This was HOA enforcement. "He's just being dramatic." One of the inspectors finally turned. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "did you authorize chemical dumping into this lake?" "Yes," she said proudly, "for fishing control." He didn't react. He just wrote something down. That's when she stopped smiling. They took water, samples from the surface, then deeper, then near the intake pipe. Every reading made their faces harder. One of them walked over to me. "When was the last time residents used this water?" he asked. "This morning," I said. "Some are still using it." He swore under his breath and turned away. Within minutes, radios crackled. More vehicles arrived. A county official stepped forward and raised his voice. "Attention," he announced, effective immediately. "All residents are to stop using tap water. Do not drink it. Do not bathe in it. Do not cook with it." Murmurs turned into panic. People rushed back to their homes. Phones came out. Voices rose. Karen's face went pale. "What do you mean stop?" she said. "This is just a lake." The official looked at her. "This lake feeds your entire neighborhood." Silence. The sea. "Contamination levels are severe," he continued. "This water is unsafe for any human use." Someone yelled, "How long will it be shut off?" The answer hit like a hammer. "Until further notice." That's when reality finally reached her. "This isn't my fault," Karen snapped. "He was fishing illegally." The official turned again. "Who authorized the chemical?" She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "The HOA," she said weakly. He nodded. "Then the HOA is responsible." By noon, official notices were posted on every street. The shutdown didn't feel real at first. People turned faucets on and off like it was a mistake. Like the water would magically come back if they tried again. It didn't. No showers, no toilets, no drinking water. By afternoon, the entire neighborhood was outside. Lines formed at the emergency water truck at the entrance. Parents held empty jugs. Elderly neighbors sat on folding chairs, confused and scared. Kids asked questions no one knew how to answer. How long? Is it dangerous? Who did this? The fear turned into anger fast. Voices rose, fingers pointed. Karen saw her chance. She climbed onto a bench near the dock, like she was back in charge. "This is his fault," she shouted, pointing straight at me. "He was fishing illegally. He forced us to take action." A few people nodded at first. They wanted someone to blame, anyone. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to because this wasn't a shouting match. This was paperwork. A county official stepped forward with a thick folder in his hands. He spoke calmly, but his voice carried. "We've reviewed the property records," he said. "The water rights, the permits, the historical filings." Karen crossed her arms again, trying to look confident. "The HOA manages this lake," she said. "Everyone knows that." The official opened the folder. "No," he replied, "it doesn't." He held up a map. "See, clear lines, clear labels, stamped and dated. This lake sits entirely on private land," he continued, "owned by one individual." He looked at me briefly, then back at the crowd. "The water rights were granted decades ago, long before the HOA existed. They were never transferred, never shared. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Karen shook her head violently. "That's not true," she yelled. "This is community water." The official flipped another page. "These are the signed approvals for the intake system," he said. "Permission to draw water from the lake into the neighborhood system." He paused. "Permission granted by the owner of the lake." All eyes turned to me. Karen's mouth opened, closed. The official kept going. "The HOA does not own the lake, does not control it, and does not have legal authority to add anything to it." He let that sink in, "Which means," he said slowly, "the HOA contaminated a water source they did not own that supplies drinking water to hundreds of residents." Silence. Then someone shouted, "You mean they poisoned our water?" Another voice, "My kids drank that." A woman near the front started crying. Karen stepped backward. "This isn't fair," she said weakly. "He shouldn't have been fishing." No one was listening anymore. The documents kept coming out. Emails, HOA meeting notes, messages where Karen bragged about teaching him a lesson, about ending the fishing problem for good. On record, neighbors leaned in, reading, whispering, faces changed. Anger shifted direction. Someone yelled Karen's name. Another person shouted, "You did this, you tried to leave." Two county officials stopped her. "Ma'am," one said, "we're not finished." The crowd pressed closer. People she had fined, people she had threatened, people she had bullied for years. Now they understood. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was arrogant. And it poisoned their homes. Karen looked around like she was seeing the neighborhood for the first time. No smiles, no support, no authority left. The consequences didn't come all at once. They came in waves, heavy ones. The first wave was financial. The county issued emergency fines so large people thought there was a typo. There wasn't. Daily penalties for environmental contamination, additional fines for endangering public health, more for operating without permits, more for falsifying enforcement authority. Every fine had one name on it, the HOA. Within 48 hours, their bank accounts were frozen, all dues, all reserves, all funds meant for community improvement gone. The second wave was legal. Investigators returned, not in trucks this time, but in suits. They took laptops, phones, meeting minutes, email servers. Karen was questioned for hours. At first, she blamed others, said it was a group decision, said she was just enforcing rules. Then the messages were found, texts where she bragged, emails where she ordered it done, notes where she wrote, "Poison it if we have to." Her voice, her words, her choice. Charges followed. Environmental crimes, criminal negligence, endangerment, the kind of charges that don't disappear with apologies. The third wave was social. Neighbors stopped defending her. Then they stopped talking to her. Then they stopped acknowledging her at all. People she once fined now walked past her like she was invisible. People she once intimidated now stood taller. At the emergency meeting, the HOA board didn't even argue. They resigned, every one of them. The county dissolved the HOA by the end of the week. No appeals, no delays. It was over. Karen didn't show up after that. Some said she moved out overnight. Others said her lawyer told her to disappear. Her house went quiet, curtains closed, mailbox overflowing. Then, one morning, the lights never came back on. The fourth wave was restoration. This part took time. Specialists treated the lake carefully, slowly, methodically. They filtered, neutralized, tested, waited. Weeks passed, then months. Life returned in small ways at first. Insects, birds, ripples. Eventually, fish. The water cleared. The smell vanished. The lake breathed again. The water supply was rebuilt with safeguards this time. Multiple approvals, multiple checks, no shortcuts, no ego. As for me, I never said I told you so. I didn't need to. One morning, long after everything was done, I walked back onto the dock, same rod, same chairs, same quiet. The sun rose over the water like it always had. I cast my line, no signs, no warnings, no one watching, just the lake, and a neighborhood that finally understood something simple. Power doesn't come from yelling or rules written by bullies. It comes from knowing your rights and standing still long enough to let the wrong people destroy themselves.